I'm not going to lie, there are days on which I do honestly wonder whether Shaun from the comedy duo Shaun and Jen is actually controlled opposition. I often wonder if it's not the case that this one man wasn't actually the original patient zero of the Dunning-Kruger effect, and in fact is actually being paid by like Andrew Anglin or something. Shaun has for some reason taken it upon himself to fact check my tweets, and in doing so he has failed to fact check my tweets. So go on, Shaun, show me how it's done. That's right, I said this person has never lived in a council house. And guess what, Shaun? I'm right. But you go on, you show me your amazing Google foo skills. Oh, she needed benefits. Wow, you found the first article and you searched through to see why she needed benefits. Okay, let's carry on, Shaun. Right, that's not what living in a council house is, Shaun. And if you'd done more than 2 seconds worth of research into this, I wouldn't be able to laugh at you in this video like this. Yes, the government paid for her to live in bed and breakfasts. That's, again, not a council estate. Let's have a look at Poppy Nor. In fact, I tell you what, I should actually thank Shaun, because Poppy is actually a fantastic example of what I advocate for. And she is exactly the point that I try to make. So in a lot of ways, I really should thank Shaun for being so fucking incompetent. Because this will be quite interesting. So, Poppy was a person who was homeless. So she says, without benefits, I would never have gone to Cambridge. The welfare state supported me when I needed it most and it changed my life. That's what I think a welfare state should be for. So, Poppy was the third of 7 children, and she grew up in Plaistow in East London, in a chaotic family well known to social services. Right. Now you can see what the problem is already. Her mum had severe schizophrenia, but was often unable to cope. Her dad was from a traditional Bangladeshi family. He worked long hours as a minicab driver and later a chauffeur. So what's Plaistow like? Well, turns out that Plaistow, the average price of housing is £382,000, and that is higher than the average of Newham. You could compare this to somewhere like Durham, where the average house price is £127,000, and then you start to get an idea of the class differential. And I'm not beating about the bush here. Plaistow is not a wealthy area of London either, but it's not a poor area of London. Her mum's illness made it incredibly unstable and unpredictable. When she was well, she used to think up amazing fun stuff for us to do. When she was bad, she'd have a breakdown and get sectioned. And by the time Poppy was 16, things had escalated and she felt unsafe in the family home. And that's why she left. Months of sleeping on sofas followed, and her brother had also fled and was forced to sleep in a phone box. But the point is, she made the decision to leave because she thought that was for the best. She did not grow up on a council estate, Shaun. Regardless if she was homeless because of choice, she did not grow up in a council estate. She grew up in a middle-class part of London. And then she ended up going to Cambridge. She even says the very experience of hostels was a motivating factor in itself. During her earlier school days, when she was living at home, she would keep abreast of her homework and demonstrated keenness in class, but beyond that was a normal kid. However, she attributes her extra drive during A-levels to the absence of direct home support once she moved into hostels, which meant that she had to strictly self-implement regimes on top of her schoolwork. She didn't like being in hostels, and she wanted to be a success. And so she used her time wisely, she studied hard, and she got into university. And what was it like when she was in university? I never really worried about finance at Cambridge because it never looked much more expensive than other universities. I can imagine how people would be worried about not being able to have a job during term time, but the bursary is more than enough to help you get through the year if you need it. And people can still get jobs in the bar or library if they need to. I never found finance an issue at Cambridge. I've never been able to do something because of money, and I felt that way when I was given some financial help. So the government, after she fled home because of her insane mother, her middle-class home because of her insane mother, because her father worked long hours, she ended up relying on the welfare state to put her in bed and breakfasts. She didn't end up in a council house. And I'll show you what a council house looks like in a minute, because you clearly have no fucking idea. She didn't grow up in a council house. She didn't live in a council house. She was just homeless. But that doesn't mean she was on the street. Here's what I'm talking about, Shaun. Do you see this? Do you see this ratty, shitty, run-down area where people are packed in like fucking animals? Do you see this kind of crap, Shaun? Do you see the graffiti? Do you see the soul-crushing dullness of this life? There are people who grow up here. They don't just live in a £350,000 house in South London and feel the need to leave because they don't feel safe at home. I mean, I imagine that a lot of these people don't feel safe at home, Shaun, but where the fuck are they going to go? You don't know anything. It's like you don't know anything about the real world. If you spend 20 years or 16 years growing up in a place like this, you're not going to Cambridge. This is what Poppy is advocating for other people when she says housing should be a universal right. The housing will be like this. It will create impoverished, deprived communities of people who don't have the desire to go anywhere. They don't think about... These people don't think about going to university. Do you know that? You know, people who grow up in these areas don't think, I'm going to go to Cambridge. They don't even bother applying because they just haven't had the life that sets you up for that. This is what growing up on a council estate is like. If you don't end up joining some kind of gang, committing some kind of crime and going to prison, then you're lucky. Then you're one of the successful ones from these fucking estates, Shaun. Do you understand? You don't know fucking... Oh, but she was homeless. She had to leave home because her mum was mental. Yeah, okay. She had to live in bed and breakfast. You know, these people... Do you know these sort of folks, right? Do you know what their holidays are? Their fucking holidays are in bed and breakfasts, Shaun. Do you know that? You don't know anything, do you? You literally don't. You don't know shit. You don't know fucking shit. Just, bed and breakfasts are a luxury to these people. You know the sort of £50 a night bed and breakfast? Yeah, they'll save up to go to those. But you don't think about it. You just think, oh, well, she was homeless. She got put in a bed and breakfast. Shaun, you don't know what you're talking about. Once again. But thank you again for giving me the opportunity to point out that this woman's actual life experience is exactly why I think that a safety net, so people shouldn't be homeless, can be achieved. And I think hostels are a fine thing. I think, you know, putting people up in bed and breakfasts is a fine thing. I don't think council estates are a fine thing. I don't think council housing is a fine thing. In general, it's shit. And the people who live on these estates don't really want to.